Okay, so let's go over the task for today. Okay, so just a reminder, our final exam is next week, Monday. Okay, it's going to go from 11:30 to 1:30, so it's a 2-hour exam. Um, the topics are listed there, so there's going to be essay questions on that. There's also going to be some questions where you have to come up with the appropriate SQL script in order to create a table or create create tables or a view. And then also there's going to be some questions where you need to write down the correct SQL for doing a select query, an insert query, or an update query. Okay, all three of those. Okay, any questions with respect to the final exam? Okay, so if you have any labs that you have not turned in yet, I know most of you have turned all of them in, but if you have any that you haven't turned in, the last day to submit any labs is the day of the final. Okay, so next week, Monday. Okay, any questions with respect to that? Okay, so the next thing is just working on project 3. Some of you didn't show me your binder, so if you have that today, make sure you do that. I updated Postum on Laulima yesterday in the afternoon, maybe about 1 o'clock or so, and so that shows your scores up until this point. If you look at the percent grade completed, it's 70% now. So what we have left is 15% for project 3, 10% for the final exam, so that's 25%, that's up to 95%. So the only other part unaccounted for is the course evaluation. As of right before class, I saw there's 15 out of 22, so 3 more people out of the remaining 7 have to participate for that 5% to get added on. The thing probably closes tomorrow night. Okay, so if you are one of those that has not yet participated, then outside of class, make sure that you go to the course evaluation system and then log in and then participate in all your courses, especially this one. Okay, any questions with respect to that? Okay, so as I grade more stuff, I will update Postum. Since the project is due tonight, I'll have it graded by Friday, most likely, by Friday. And then so I will update it. When I update Postum with the project 3 scores, then I will send out an email message saying Postum has been updated. Okay, when the project 3 scores have been added in, if you've turned in everything else up until then that's 85% of your grade. The 10% that the final is worth is unlikely to change your letter grade, whatever you're averaging at that point, unless you're right on the edge of a grade. Okay, so if you're right at 89.6 or something like that, which is an A, right, because that's 89.5 or higher, then you need to score at least 89.5 on the final to maintain your grade. But unless you're right at the edge like that, it's not going to make much of a difference because it's only 10%. Of course, it's worth a little more than 10% if 3 more people don't participate in the CES, because then it's out of 95% instead of 100. Okay, but so hopefully 3 of those people that have not will participate. But then the point is, after I finish grading project 3 and I send out an email saying that has been updated, if you look at your overall score, that is likely to tell you what your final grade is going to be. Of course, I'm going to post it again after I grade the final exam, but if you're right in the middle of the grade, so let's say someone's averaging 85% after project 3, then they're going to get a B unless they get 0 on the final, which is unlikely. Okay, so they can't score high enough on the final to move up to an A from that point, and unless they do something really weird in the final, they're not going to drop down below a B. Okay, so if you're kind of in the middle of a range, after Project 3's grade has been posted, then that's probably the grade you're gonna get for the semester. Okay. Okay, so project 3, let me just open that up. We'll refer back to that in a little while. Okay, so lab 10, as I mentioned last time, completing it should help you to complete the PHP script handle edit. Request.php is the same principle. Okay. So make sure you look at that, and then I'll give you, in a little while, I'll let you folks work on whatever you need to, and then you can ask questions on individual assignments. Okay, but it says there, be sure to create a compressed file. I should have said a compressed file for bad grammar there. Okay, upload this to your Dropbox before you leave today. Okay, so what does that mean? Pretend that my project is complete except for maybe answering the questions and things like that. But basically, the SQL scripts, okay, including all that SQL, hopefully you came up with something like that, otherwise your directions are going to be longer for the setup. But your SQL scripts, your PHP scripts, they're all done. Everything works correctly, or as far as you're going to get, because today's the last day to work on it. Okay, so pretending that that's the case, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the main Docker folder, and then I'm going to make a copy of my docs folder. Okay, so I'm going to copy this, and then I'm going to paste it on the desktop. Okay, it has a lot of stuff in it because it has everything for the semester. So I'm going to open this up, and everything except sent 280 and include, you can delete that. So let me get rid of all of those things. Okay, so you get rid of this, and you've done this kind of stuff before, but it doesn't hurt to remind you. Inside of sent 280, all I need is project 3. Okay, and inside of include, all I need is project 3. Don't want to have extra stuff in there. Okay, and then now that we have inside of sent 280 the project 3, inside of include the project 3, this docs folder is cleaned up. So I'm going to go right click, send to compressed file. Okay, so there's my docs.zip, and then I'm just going to rename it project 3 final, for project 3 final version, and then you just upload that. So before you leave, upload that. You still can, of course, work on the documentation part of it, submit that separately from that, but make sure that you at least upload that to your Dropbox in the working files area if you're not quite done, and you can still continue to work on it after you leave, or upload it to the Dropbox in a project 3 folder if it's done. Okay, so that's that step there. Okay, and then make sure that you create a screenshot of the view of all the tables for your project 3_DB database. Now, one thing that I did notice is that some people named your database differently from this. Okay, so be careful about that, because when I am going through and grading the stuff, then a lot of times I'm just relying on a database having on the same name. So if your project 3 database is named differently, so basically that's only in one file that makes a difference. That's your project 3.php file that's inside of your the project 3 inside of include. Just be careful of that. You don't want to have me grade your stuff incorrectly because your stuff doesn't load the right way. Okay, so the name that I'm expecting for the database is project 3_DB. Okay, so make sure you take that into account when you do the setup for your project. Okay, so if you take a look here, let me start up a Con EMU terminal, and then what I'm going to do is first load the environment variables. Okay, so pipe it into this shell. Oh, what I'm also going to do is I'm going to start up MOBA Xterm. So let me go ahead and do that here. And I need to start up MOBA Xterm because the SQL Power Architect is a Java application. It's a Java Swing application, so it needs to have the X server started up. Okay, so I'm coming back to Con EMU. I'm going to change into my main Docker folder so that I can start the containers up. So that's what I just did there. Oh, it started it. It's not quite started yet. And then I'm going to go into the Postgres SQL container because that's where the Power Architect stuff is installed. That's also where Postgres SQL is installed. Okay, so let's go into that container. And if you look at the directions, it says change directory /user/local architect -1.0.8 and then run java.jar architect.jar. And then when you do the setup, it should look like this. Okay, so you can look at this. You can name it what you want. I just call my project 3, but this has to be localhost. This has to be the name of the database, project3_db, then Bob, and then the password. Test the connection, and then if that works correctly, then you're set up. So let me go ahead and do that. Okay, so cd/user/local/architect -1.0.8 java-jar, and then just put AR and then just type a tab and it'll be architect.jar. It's gonna take a little while to start up. Oh, in fact, I made a mistake, so it's not going to start up because I forgot to set my display environment variable. So that's why I'm getting this error message here. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, so export display equals 10.60.3.100:0.0. Mine is 100, but yours is a different number, right? So 10.60.3, common to everybody, then it's your computer number, :0.0, and then I start up architect again, and then it should start up. Okay, so start it up here, and the directions say go to connections, add source connection, new connection, and then I'm just going to name mine project 3. And the database type should be Postgres SQL. The host name is localhost because remember that you're inside the Postgres SQL container, so then it's local to the container, right? When we got PHP programs, the Postgres SQL service is not in the same container. It's external. That's why we have to put the IP address. But this one is localhost, project3_db, then username Bob, some pass, test the connection. Connection was successful, so I go OK. Then project 3 opens here. I go expand all children. Okay. Wait a little while for that. Then I'm going to move this over so I can see stuff a little bit better. Here's a table, departments table. I drag it over. I say apply to all for CLOB, so any text fields it'll be called CLOB. here's another table, divisions table. So let me drag that over. Apply to all for CLOB. Then let me move down a little bit. Here's request table. There's another table in there. Apply to all for CLOB. Then users table. And I bring that in. And then you could look some more, but there's a view. Don't have to put the view in, just show the tables that are connected. Okay, so I don't really care too much about how you arrange this stuff. I would probably do something, oops, maybe like this. I don't care if you make this stuff line up. You could go straight in lines if you want to. You don't have to. Okay? But it should show okay, the links between all of those tables. All four tables are connected together. Okay, so we need a screenshot of that. So just going to highlight, just draw a box around it. There's my screenshot. I'll go File, Save As, and then in my Documents folder, I'm just going to put Project 3 SQL Power Architect.png. Okay. Oh, I changed project3.png. That's also good enough. Doesn't really matter. And then, or you actually could have copied it and pasted it into the Word document already. So let's go back to this and look at the final things that we need to have done. Okay, so you need to have inside of your Word document the project set up. Okay, so let's simulate that a bit. Okay, so I'm going to start off opening up Word. And then I'm going to change the style to no spacing so I don't have a lot of spaces in between new line characters. Okay, then I'm going to have the setup, bunch of explanations there. Okay. Then after setup, the completed PHP scripts and SQL scripts, those are all inside of that compressed zip file. So if you uploaded that into your Dropbox, that will take care of that. If your project works correctly, then that means that these things are probably all correct. Then you'll get those 55 points for that. Okay. If it's not quite correct, you're going to get some partial credit depending upon what is not working. Okay, so hopefully everything is working, but make sure that's okay. Okay, so do not include a printout of these things, right? These are just the scripts. They just need to be inside of that compressed zip file. Okay. SQL Power Architect view. Okay, so if you did that, okay, so I just open it up here. I go Control C to copy, go back to my Word document, paste it in, and there's my SQL Power Architect view. And then explanation of 2 useful features that could be added to the application. Okay, so several people asked me about this, and I said as an example, you could say that my application, as it stands, can add a request, can edit a request, but cannot delete a request. So another useful feature would be to be able to delete a request. And you don't have to say how you would do that, what the SQL query would be for it. You just have to say that would be another feature. Okay, so you need to have 2 useful features. Then you gotta add in the answers to the questions there. Okay, so put that into your Word document also, so that when you upload it, okay, it has a setup, okay, has a screenshot here, has 2 useful features, okay, that need to be added. Okay, it can be anything. Could be having to do with logging in, whatever. Okay, and then answers to the questions. Okay, so put those things all into one document, the setup, the screenshot, the two useful features, the answer to the questions, upload your zip file, and then that's basically it, okay, for the project. Okay, any questions on that? Okay, so that's basically it then for what I wanted to talk about. You could save this if you want. I'm not going to save it. Oh, sorry. And I don't need MobileXterm open anymore, so I'm just going to exit out of that. Okay, but that basically is it. Let's see this. I don't need that anymore. Okay, and then so just the Word document and the zip file, that's what you need to upload. Okay. Make sure you create your zip file before you leave today, because you're not going to probably be able to create it properly at home unless you have it set up so you can continue to work on it at home. Okay. Any questions? Okay. And that's it. That's it. All I have to talk about up front. If you have individual questions after I finish passing back some of these papers, then raise your hand and I'll come and take a look at what you have.